Hi, my name's Liz and I'm the lead peer supporter for Staffordshire Adults Autistic Society. I've been working for SAS for the last year and a half since discovering during COVID that I was autistic. A number of years ago I thought I was autistic, but GPs at the time said everybody had a little bit of autism. But COVID brought it to a head, and from there I opted to go to get a private diagnosis because the NHS waiting lists unfortunately are quite long, and I was diagnosed with autism in January 2021. Finding out I'm autistic has actually been a positive experience for me. Took me probably 18 months to fully accept the fact that I had a diagnosis, and one of the comments I made after about 18 months is I felt I'd become more autistic, and what that actually means is I stopped hiding who I was. I stopped masking, as it's called. I felt more comfortable in a lot of situations of being who I was. So, for example, masking is what autistic people do to fit in, whether it's fitting at work, fitting with family, to become part of what's expected. And the issue autistic people tend to have is we can do it on a very superficial level, and the reason for that is it's what we call a learnt behaviour. So we have learned how to behave by copying what other people do. So sometimes we're better at it than others. There can be some benefits to masking, but there are also a lot of negatives as well. Quite a lot of us have gone under the radar for many, many years, and I think COVID has brought quite a few people to the realisation that they may be autistic, and they've undergone further investigations because all of the learnt behaviours that we practiced regularly in the workplace and things like that, during COVID, the majority of us were at home and we were in our own environment, and we didn't have to do all the social niceties and the workplace getting along that we do. So we didn't practice. So when things opened up again after COVID, and we were expected to go back into the workplace and go out and socialise with people, the autistic ones amongst us who had not been diagnosed found it extremely difficult because that behaviour hadn't been practised. Masking is actually exhausting for autistic people, and while everybody masks to some degree at various points to fit in with a situation you're not totally comfortable with an autistic person masking, we can be hiding who we really are. So you may have heard of stimming and things like that. So some autistic people rock, some people fiddle with their fingers, hair, and things like that. And stopping those behaviours actually is difficult, and which is what makes the masking so difficult. And for example, neurotypical people feel we should make eye contact. What I would say is, if you want me to have a conversation with you and know exactly what it's all about and remember it, I don't tend to make eye contact. Eye contact itself is painful. To remain looking at you for an entire conversation, it's quite likely I won't remember the conversation at the end of it. And there is also the point that a lot of autistic people need to be doing something else, whether it's scribbling on a piece of paper or playing on an iPad while the conversation is going. So often with an autistic person, you can either have me looking at you and I remember nothing, or you can let me carry on, appearing not to be paying attention because I'm fiddling on my computer or writing something on a pad. I'm not looking at you, but I can actually then tell you exactly what's going on in the conversation. And this is one of the stereotypes that, certainly in the workplace, I think we need to overcome. It takes a lot of energy to focus and look at somebody and concentrate on it, to the point that everything else that's going on, the majority of autistic people would really struggle to remember. This can lead to autistic meltdowns and burnouts when it gets overwhelming. I describe autistic meltdowns a little bit like a coffee cup. We can cope with so much, so we're filling a coffee cup over the day. And the thing that will cause the meltdown is actually, in reality, not actually a big thing. It could be a staple in the wrong place on a piece of paper. It could be a change in routine that wasn't expected, or some noise that will cause it. So in reality, none of these are particularly big issues, but at that time, because of all the things that have built up over a period of time, it only takes one small thing to make your cup overflow. This is where distraction techniques and sensory issues come into play, because you tend to find that the more stressed an autistic person is, their sensory issues come to play a lot more. You become hypersensitive. So, for example, as you can see, I wear sunglasses, and I wear sunglasses summer and winter. I really struggle with bright lights, to the point that in this office I don't actually use the overhead lights. We have a small light that I can switch on when it's dark, so there's light in the room so people can see I'm in, but I don't have to use it. We use blinds to make the room darker, and as one of my colleagues said, he's never seen me without my sunglasses on, because I wear them pretty much all the time that I'm awake. And to be fair, this is something that I've done more since I've accepted the fact that I'm autistic, because I don't feel I have to fit in. Some autistic people have issues with what clothes they wear, labels, different types of material. And what you tend to find is that people who struggle in this way often have 10 or 12 of the same item of clothing. They find one they like and they stick to it. And there's nothing wrong with that. What it is being adaptable to what people need, and it's being aware that some days people can cope with some change, but other days we can't. And it's recognising that these are signs that people are getting, when people become more rigid in their behaviour, it's a sign that they're getting stressed and they need to have some control over what they're doing. And often that will be tightening up on their routines. And it's not normally a conscious decision, it's just something we do, because quite a number of autistic people are routine orientated, and while this may not be apparent to a lot of people, if you ask an autistic person, often they have to do things in a certain way.